In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the gun trips halfback week, which has a play that I think is one of the more customizable freestyle plays in all of Madden. Let's get into it. What is up, guys? Zan from the Zan Madden YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a play inside of the gun trips halfback week in the Minnesota Vikings offense. As I've talked about pretty much in every video,
we know. Believe me, we know.
The Minnesota Vikings offense is my favorite playbook in the game, home of the X Nasty. My entire offense is available on gridirongameplans.gg, but I do find that this play that we're going to be taking a look at here today, known as the inside switch, is very, very freestyle in that you can do a lot of really cool things with this particular play. You can set up beaters for darn near any coverage shell, and I'll even show you guys how to block some of the metas, like for instance, the dollar, to make blitzing it a little bit less effective as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. First and foremost, we're going to start off with a cover 3 manipulation. Now, the cool thing about this particular formation is that it is what is considered a 3-by-1 spread, but it is a 4 wide receiver formation. So with this particular formation, we've got 3 true wide receivers to the right of the screen with CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Rice, and Randy Moss. On the left, we have a split end receiver, which is all the way out to the left, which is Herman Moore, with a back in the backfield to our left. While there is no attached tight end, this is still a very, very good formation because we can do a number of different things while making blitzing this formation a little bit tougher due to the speed and the spread out splits of our wide receivers. Now, starting off with a cover 3 base defense, the cool thing about this is that if they want to play this in a non-baseline fashion, we have one way that we're going to work against the defense, which is basically to set up a cover 3 beater in which we streak the A receiver and smart route down our skinny post to Jerry Rice. Now, with this particular play, we do need a pull route on the backside, so I like to use a comeback route. You could also use a C route. You could also use a post corner route, but the comeback route is the most common hot route, so I'll go ahead and do that. Now, from the defensive point of view, we are going to pay attention to the middle receiver, because in a cover 3 shell, we are going to be looking at the press animation of that curl flat, which is going to allow us to throw this soft spot in route in behind it. This particular route is nice because it kind of spots up in the hole. It's not a stock in route. It hits shallow underneath, while the 2 vertical routes really pull the hook zone on that side. So this is a great check down route. The user's going to have to be pretty on top of this, which is going to open up kind of the seam. So if you can imagine, if they were to kind of play this shallow, you're going to be able to throw the quick seam in behind on this play. So with this same particular setup, you basically are reading the press animation on Jerry Rice, and then you're reading the hook. So in this case, you're going to see here, okay, well, I can throw this little throw into Randy Moss. If that hook stays shallow, that becomes a seam attack that is going to be really tough for the defense to deal with. Now, most players are going to play their cover 3 as more of a base aligned version of this. And I'm going to show you here that with this particular concept, again, if you guys have the pull route on the backside of this formation, you're going to be able to throw this ball into Jerry Rice behind the streak route. That streak route is going to pull the cover 3, and then you're going to be able to throw this post underneath, and that's going to be wide open, and then you're 1 player away from a 1-play score. So this is really, really nice in that it beats cover 3 really well. It allows you to really mix up what your intent is with this. And the cool thing with this as well is that you can kind of utilize this in a number of different facets against the cover 2 shell, which is about what I'm going to break down for you. So typically you have a lot of different concepts players will like to utilize against cover 2. You can attack the sideline deep. This is a great opportunity to run. This is a simple flood combo. Of course, you know, your corner route is very, very popular this year, so you're going to be able to see A breaking into the sideline underneath of that streak route in the slot. Obviously, this does take a little bit of time to develop. If you guys are struggling for time, of course, you can go ahead and smart route the A receiver, which makes his route break just a little bit more quickly, which will allow you to get this throw in. And, you know, that extra couple tenths of a second is important, obviously, when you're trying to hold up in pass protection. So that's great. So obviously we know about the sideline flood, but I'm going to share with you a little setup that I think is really cheeky against cover 2 as well, which is kind of running this as a dagger combo, but we're going to be utilizing that post. So in a lot of cases, the dagger combo is the slot receiver runs a streak and the outside receiver runs a dig route. And the whole purpose of that is for the streak route to hopefully pull the mid-read zone. So when I snap this ball, you're gonna see here we have this streak. It's gonna pull down the field. But for some reason, the mid-read zone stays in the middle, and this occurs with match on or match off. So basically, most players, because mid-read zones don't behave correctly, they will actually run their cover 2 like this, where they'll just drop the guy deep in the middle. And that's where the dagger combo becomes a lot more effective. So if you were to imagine kind of running a setup where we were to just run it like this, with that deep middle dropper, you're gonna be able to throw this ball in behind underneath of that dropper. So that's a great way to run the dagger combo. But the cool thing with this play is that you can, instead of using a regular streak to the inside receiver on right bumper, you can still utilize that skinny post and still run a dig in behind it, because there's enough of a difference in the levels of the breaks on this play that it does actually end up being pretty cool if they do run a cover 2, because you're going to be able to throw this post in behind and split the safeties for a potential one-play score as well. Again, making sure that you want to avoid the knockout abilities as well. If you feel like the safeties are getting into that spot, one thing that you actually can do is probably run this as kind of like a mimic of a drive combo, which is basically, you know, it's normally a drag and a deep in route, both running over the middle. But you can actually run this as, you know, just, you know, a shallow in to Moss, and then you're going to split the safeties with that post in behind, while your streaks hold the safeties out wide and really open up the field more. So if you're struggling with those KO abilities in a cover 2, this is a great counter for that particular style of coverage, which brings me to the next point, where we start to talk about the meta blitz and the most popular coverage shells with those meta blitzes. So naturally, we're talking about more of that DB fire type of defense. So we're going to go ahead here and run DB fire, and I'm going to call this exact same play here against the dollar DB fire. So I want to start off first and foremost with the fact that because this formation is so wide, most players are going to base align and press their dollar. This is going to make it more of a challenge for them to defend the whole shot because of how spread out this formation is. So in a lot of facets, you're going to be able to kind of throw this whole shot down the sideline. So we snap this ball, and then you're going to be able to throw that ball out to B and rack it up the sideline for the one-play score. So a lot of players are going to struggle just from the coverage standpoint calling DB fire against this, but let's talk about blocking the blitz with this. With this particular blitz, all we're going to do is block the running back, slide protect right, and ID this particular corner, which should allow us to pick up both of those slot corners on this particular concept. Now, again, with this, it's probably pretty important that you mix up your cover 2 beaters, but once again, as I'm sure you can imagine, it's going to be really useful for you to be able to run this kind of dagger drive combo over the middle. So when we snap this ball here, I'm going to click off. When I snap this ball, I could step up in the pocket, hit my shallow in, or deliver my post route to the middle of the field. So you're going to be in a spot where the user is going to have multiple in-breaking routes guarded with their user defender. So let's say that, you know, they start to hang out on this side of the field. Well, this is going to be great because, again, you could kind of run this as just everybody's going to be breaking over the middle at varying levels. You just have to worry about blocking the blitz, which we just talked about. Block the running back, slide protect right, ID left. And then when that ball's snapped, if that user flies deep down the middle, you're going to have that in-breaking B route right over the middle, which I know that the Gravedigger hit me right as I threw that, but you see that obviously that's wide open as you step up into this. It also allows you in a lot of ways to kind of toy with them towards the sideline as well. As I'm sure you guys know, a lot of players are going to have to get out manually and guard the corner or the sideline. In a lot of cases. So some players may kind of protect themselves by dropping this guy in the middle. Well, if that's the case, you're going to be in a spot now where you can identify that deficiency in their coverage, still flood that wide side of the field. And if they want to kind of, you know, at the snap, basically bail out to the right like this, you're going to have your shallow cross underneath from the backside, which can scamper up the field as well. So DB Fire definitely struggles in this regard. Trying to defend against this particular concept. And then finally, when we talk about the spinner meta, the thing about the spinner meta is that if they come out in this, it has to be base aligned, because you see that everybody kind of floats over towards the right side. It's really spaced out poorly. So again, they have to base align again with this. And then if they're going to press it all, this slot, which is typically a tight end role in most offenses, is completely unguarded. So they actually have to take this safety and put him on this guy, or else they're going to be able to do a lot with this. So again, what I'm saying is, like, if they want to drop this guy in the deep middle, for instance, like, oh, I'm worried about a streak. Well, all of a sudden, you're just going to be able to throw quick throws out to the flat to A, because they're not going to be in a spot where they have a guy that can man up that inside slot receiver. Again, it's not a tight end. So spinner is a real challenge for a lot of players. And, you know, they like to, you know, man up this guy. They're going to use this guy in the middle of the field. Well, in a lot of these cases, too, you guys can start to, you know, utilize motion, do some kind of crazy stuff that is going to kind of swap players, you know, off of, you know, their man coverage. If I motion across, you're going to see that that's going to double team that guy now. So now there's a new guy that's left uncovered. You know, in general, too, with this, it's going to end up being a real chore, because you can actually do some pretty intuitive stuff here with this. You know, if I want to motion Rice across, you see here, this safety is going to swap on to Moss, and now all of a sudden you've got a couple guys on Moss, and again, nobody on the running back. So you can really fiddle around with your opponents, especially if they're running the spinner meta where they're just randomly manning people up. You could very, very quickly ruin somebody's day if they have plans to be running spinner, because of just all the swap off logic that occurs. Again, you see right here that, you know, I've got at varying points in this play, I've got guys that are left wide open. So you see right there, like, for instance, if I wanted to, I could actually motion Lamb across, put him on a flat. I mean, look at this right here. There's a moment in time where I can actually snap that ball. Again, the running back is wide open out of the backfield. I can put him on a streak, whatever. Your opponent's going to have to be on time with their adjustments and know exactly what's occurring to them as you do these motions, and most players are not going to want to play that game with you. So these little head games that you can kind of play within this formation are so key. I think this is a really, really, like I said earlier, I think the word is cheeky. It's not necessarily a base offense, but it's a cool little thing that you can audible into and have some fun, man. There's some serious, you know, potential. There's great spacing in this. You got elements of air raid. You've got some run and shoot concepts that you can kind of mix in, some staples of really everything that you can use, some motion stuff. It's a fun little formation. Obviously, it's you know, something that I don't think you can necessarily run every play against super heavy constant blitz metas, but it can be pretty effective if you guys want to scheme it in, and I like the route spacing a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, drop those below. We'll see you guys a little bit later this afternoon with our next YouTube short, or tomorrow with our next video upload. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab, and good luck.